Welcome to my talk, Vibe Coding Your Way into a Security Nightmare. Or, if you don't like the clickbait title, 7 Rules for Secure Coding in the Age of AI. Imagine, you have a wonderful idea. An idea that is so good that you want to create a product out of it. But you have no idea how to do this. How can you make a software as a service for your idea and actually monetize it? Well, maybe you are like Leo. Leo here, back in January, posted on X that he just built a software as a service in just 2 months. And the specific thing here is that he used Cursor, an IDE, to actually generate the code to do this. Importantly, he says, I had no prior coding experience. So from complete noob, he built a system, a software as a service, and put it live. He shared his work on X, he shared his process, and he jumped on, hey, I have coding tools and I can help other people. Then, 2 months later, Leo posts, I'm under attack. He shared his experiences with Cursor and how he built his SaaS, and then stuff happened. He had API keys that suddenly didn't have any budget anymore because they were used up. There were users that went into his system without actually paying for a subscription, and how was that possible? And he found random stuff in his database. Leo is not very technical, so it took him quite some effort to actually figure out what is going on and how to fix it. And then, sadly, 3 days later, he says, I'm shutting down my app. He tried to fix it, but he was unable to do it because he says Cursor kept breaking stuff in other parts of the code in order to fix the issues that he had. So what Leo did is that he took his idea and went to a platform called Bubble, and then he made his product. Sad story for Leo, and I'm here to help you not be Leo, basically. Hello, my name is Arjen. I've been in the software business for over 30 years. Yes, I know. Some highlights: I worked in the USA, in Silicon Valley, at a analytics startup. I worked on an instant messaging application on the web called eBuddy, where I reverse engineered chat protocols, so it's AIM and Yahoo and stuff like that. I went into education and I created a cybersecurity curriculum and a software development curriculum that thousands of students have followed. For 4 years, I was an ambassador for something called Hack the Box, if you're familiar with that. And currently, I am a cybersecurity consultant at Cylon. I have a bunch of certifications, and you can see my timeline of life right there. And I have to confess, I love AI. I think it is a wonderful evolution of how we work with computers and how we build applications that greatly can help us as developers to become better. But in my title, I said, Vibe Coding Your Way into a Security Nightmare. Vibe coding is a relatively new term. Vibe coding was coined by Andrej Karpathy, who you might know as one of the scientists behind OpenAI. He built a lot of LLM and AI for OpenAI's ChatGPT, and he coined the term by saying, I barely even touch the keyboard. I ask for the dumbest things, like decreasing the padding on the sidebar by half, because I'm too lazy to find it. I accept all, always. I don't read the diffs anymore, so whatever the AI produces, he accepts. When I get an error message, I just copy it over to the AI and let the AI figure out what needs to be done. And usually that works. Importantly, he says, the code grows beyond my usual comprehension. What that means is that it generates so much code that would not be humanly possible to do. He said, I'd have to really read through it for a while. So, yeah, so the AI helps him build a product and can generate more and more than he would ever was able to type. Importantly here, he says, and this is the part that most people skip over, it's not too bad for throwaway weekend projects, but quite amusing. Most people do not look at that part. They just see this being able to create a product in a very small time and get basically rich off of it. Some examples: how to vibe code a $10,000 per month app, vibe coding until I make $100,000 monthly recurring revenue. The internet, especially YouTube, is full of AI influencers. I don't know if that's a good term, but people that push this idea of vibe coding onto the market of people that have an idea and want to create it. But yeah, is this a really good idea? Well, importantly here is that big companies such as Google already note that about 25% of their code is written by AI. And 2 weeks ago, Microsoft said that it was 30% at their facilities. And the idea is that this number will increase. And there's some that say it will go all the way to 100%. Some just say it will stick somewhere around 50%. Who knows what the truth will be. But the important thing here is that this 25% is written by AI, but not in a vibe coding way. There's always a human at the steering wheel. And if we take a look at how we've been developing software up until now, we have 3 groups of people. We have the junior developer, medium developer, and senior developer. You could argue that there's architects and anything related to development, but let's keep it simple and say we have junior, medium, and senior developers. And what distincts each from each other is that going from left to right, you have an increased knowledge of software engineering. So the junior has much less knowledge than the senior as to how to actually build software and the pitfalls within the software engineering process. And the other way around, from right to left, you have the ability to review code made by a less experienced developer, which is awesome. So the junior can write code and the medium can help them to actually make it better, to understand it better. And in the age of AI, each of them can be helped in a different way. When I look at how AI is used at the different levels, I would say that the junior developer is helped and enhances his ability to write code by working with AI on the unit level. So basically on a function or maybe a small feature, but not larger than that. Simply because the junior developer is unable to comprehend the implications of the changes to the entire code base. Same goes for the meteor level. The meteor is able to use AI on components. So a composition of multiple units that work together and maybe have a product page or something like that. And that works beautifully. It's contained enough to be comprehensible, and you don't have to worry about architecture changes or system changes, and you're able to work faster. And the senior level, they can put it on their entire system. They can use it to make architectural changes or allow the AI to make changes that they can comprehend. And I don't really like the term, but maybe that will make them a 10x developer on the junior, medium, and senior level. And I think AI works beautifully here. And then we have this new group of people entering the scene, new players, if you will. Arya is a great example of this. He says, from failed coder to aspiring AI engineer. Well, I take offense to the term AI engineer. I think that's somebody who actually makes AI. But that aside, how vibe coding changed everything. He has a story, it's quite a long story, about how he got into vibe coding. And he says, I tried 15 times to learn how to code. And he actually counted it. So he knows how to count, he just doesn't know how to code. The main point for him was that he said that the frustration of fighting syntax errors and logic loops left him defeated every single time. And yeah, of course, programming involves writing stuff and making loops and stuff like that. But any programmer will say that programming is not that. Programming is building and understanding a product, a problem, and working through it and using code to actually do this. And so he continues on and he says that with vibe coding he's able to do this, and it's beautiful. So let's assume that he's successful, and let's take a look at what that means for our junior, medium, and senior developers. This new player on the field, let's call him the vibe coder, is able to build complete systems. So he's doing the thing that basically a senior developer or engineer should be doing. I would say that he's AI driven, so he doesn't actually know what he's doing. He's using AI to make something. And I would say that he's AI driven where regular developers are currently AI enhanced. And Matthew Sinclair states it quite nicely. It highlights a critical danger. Developers without substantial real-world experience might not recognize when the AI produces nonsense output. And this goes back to Leo, who created his beautiful SaaS. He was very happy, and then he ran into issues and he was unable to fix those issues because he did not comprehend how to actually make software. It's quite an interesting article. I'll reference it later as well, links in the slide. But this brings me to my 7 rules that I think everybody should follow to actually build secure, good systems using AI. My first rule is to understand AI limitations and risks. AI is limited in the sense that the body of knowledge that it has is trained on everything that has existed before, but cannot know the things that are actually happening now. So if a framework or language changes or gets new features, the AI will not know these because it was not trained on these yet. So there's techniques for it, but the basic limitation is that you are unable to use things from now, but only from the past. Plus, AI does not have the boundary that changes should be small. Let's take a look at these guys. These guys are from a research facility for computer chips, and they trained an AI model on all the computer chips that they know. And they asked it, create me a new chip that performs well and has low energy and stuff like that. And the thing that you see on the screen, the little maze thing, is actually the chip that was created by the AI. And we are unable to comprehend it. We do not know how it works. But they are scientists, so they said, well, we asked it, it delivered, so let's make it. And they fabricated this chip, they tested it, and it worked beautifully. It was a wonderful chip that did exactly what they asked. They were just not able to comprehend how it did it. And then Even more, they asked to make changes to the parameters of the chips, and then the AI would create a completely new chip, one that we cannot comprehend, and the changes that we cannot see between the designs. So AI will do this to your code base as well. If you build a system and you leave all the parameters to the AI, it will create you an architecture, it will create you features, and whenever you want to change one of those features, it will, if necessary, change your complete architecture. And that means that your changes might change other features as well. And then you have a new feature, but the other features might not work anymore. So, limitations that you should take into account. And the risks are also very profound. When you create code, the AI might think or fabricate a dependency. Very beautiful example here, cryptography Fernet 01.0. It was added on November 10th, 2024. It sounds like a cryptographic thing for Python, but the description says this package is an example of a dependency hallucination. If you are installing it, you most likely have been given this package incorrectly from an AI coding assistant. Just think of this for a small second, in the sense that the AI thought that there would be a dependency with this name, suggested it for your code, and allowed you to execute this code. And then at that point you would have found out that the dependency does not exist. But this person had that problem, said, well, let me create that dependency, and now whenever you do it, you get his dependency. And he seems to not be malicious, but it might be something different. So always know your dependencies here. This is a risk. A hallucination is a risk. And then further, we now have this beautiful AI, and you might have heard of connecting your AI to your systems. So for instance, your terminal. And this is done through something called the Model Context Protocol. And notice that the S in Model Context Protocol is for security. You're basically installing a piece of software that is made by some random developer on the internet that promises that it will connect one type of system to an AI. And who is to say that that system is safe? You have to be responsible for that. So you need to evaluate if it is actually safe to use. And we connect AI to everything from HubSpot for contact relations to Terminal to GitHub. And well, who is to say that if you install the wrong Model Context Protocol server, you might not accidentally wipe your computer or transfer your GitHub repository to some random entity. So be aware of the risks and take countermeasures to eliminate these risks. To the point that you actually review the code of the Model Context Protocol server that you want to use. Rule number 2 is that you should always, and without exception, review generated code. When we think of the junior, mid, or senior, this is the point where the experience level changes between the three entities. They become very relevant. Take Lovable. They created a beautiful website that takes your LinkedIn profile, creates a website so you have a portfolio. Couple of hours later, Matt Palmer comes around and says, awesome tool, but you left your API keys in your code. So somebody who created it was unaware that having an API key in your code, or maybe you didn't even look, is dangerous. In this case it was Supabase, so We can add stuff to the database. Long live the internet. But when you ask the AI to say, make my key safe, the AI might think of the code behind the screenshot, saying, well, I'll make it safe key. I put the key in there, but not as a string. I'll make it an array, and then I'll join it, so nobody will ever know that this is the key. Obviously, to the human eye, this is unsafe. We can grab the key and do the things that we want to do. This is just an example of bad code that is being generated. And every AI model hallucinates and makes bad decisions. It is up to you to review that it is good. But these are code issues. You can also have business logic errors or input errors that you need to be aware of when the AI generates your code. Take this Y Combinator partner who created an AI recipe tool. So you give it some ingredients and it will create a recipe, and it will share it. Apparently there is some prompt injection going on, so the user input that was not dealt with properly, so it started generating recipes for cyanide ice cream and cum soup and uranium bombs, and it shared them on the internet. It's quite embarrassing, but yeah, a new paradigm of development with AI also means that you need to be more aware of how your code is using those things. You don't want prompt injection, you do want your application to work as you expect. Maybe you even have a proprietary system prompt that creates this beautiful AI recipe look and feel. You don't want to leak it. These are all things that you have to take into account. Review your code. Make sure that it works as you intended to work. Rule number 3 is to use established standards. I've been in the field for over 30 years, and we've been developing software for longer than I've been alive, and we've learned from the past. So we created processes for every step of the development cycle. From the software development life cycle to actually running it in operations, and everything goes. So we have all these steps that you need to go through in order to build some software. And with vibe coding or just AI-driven development, you do two things. You write some code and you deploy it. I'm saying you cannot just do two things. You need to do the entire chain. And granted, you'll probably do something of everything a little bit, but the more servers and services you use that you are not in control of, more problems. So these steps, if you're in development, you might know these as the DevOps cycle. It's logically the marriage of development and ops, small teams that build and run software in production. And if you're alone, you're a small team. Around this DevOps cycle, we have created a security layer. Security is well thought of and contains many different things, from thinking about your security requirements to doing actual pen tests on your application to doing vulnerability management. And now a new thing is added in the sense that we want to add rules to our AI code generators that actually generate safe code. And those rules depend on the language and the framework and everything that you use. You cannot get away from this cycle. These are basic necessities, and you do them in more or less some form during any development process. Rule number 4 for me is that you should not rely on AI for your test, or solely on AI. The adage of wc eend, I don't know if everybody is familiar with wc eend, but wc eend is a product in the Netherlands, and this product is famous for its slogan. It says, wc Eend recommends wc Eend. So the cleaning product company wc Eend recommends that you use wc Eend. And the same goes for AI. AI will always try to please you. It's awesome. You always get your way. But Matthew Sinclair, who we saw earlier, in his work with cloud as a code companion, he found that whenever he was working on tests and tried to make his tests pass, he saw that it would change framework code to make tests pass. So instead of fixing the problem, it would just change the framework and then the test would pass, but your code might not work anymore. It would comment out whole sections of code and replace them with hard-coded values, so the test would actually pass, but your problem, you have a new problem. You have hard-coded values instead of business logic. So he found that you cannot just purely rely on AI for your tests. You need to combine it with your code reviewing, and it will only test what it thinks is necessary. It does not necessarily mean that all your business logic is tested. So you need to think for yourself as well when working on your tests. Rule number 5, size does matter. It is true. Keep your units small. Your units being the smallest part of your runnable code. Mostly it would be a function or a method. Keep them small. That allows you to actually read and understand your code, which in turn helps you with rule number 2. Whenever you allow AI to generate large bodies of code, I've seen functions that have been hundreds of lines, when they're poorly structured, low readability, it increases the effort that you have to understand it, and you will sooner give up understanding it and just say, well, probably works. But yeah, that is not really safe, is it? So keep the unit small. When an AI generates a large body of code, ask it to chop it up in functions, make it reusable components maybe. Make sure that it does not have spaghetti. That would be a very good thing. And it helps you for rule number 2. So rule number 6 is to document your system. I would state that this is the actual amount of code documentation that a flight coder writes. Anybody who programs knows that when you program some code, you put it aside, you go home, you sleep, you maybe have a vacation, you come back, you look at your code, you go like, what the flip? Generally, code, it is difficult to instantly recognize unless you have a very, very tight connection to it. So write documentation for your system. Outline how it should work, how the system should work, how the architecture works, and whenever you have good, nice algorithms, document them. This also helps to feed into the AI. You can give this document to your AI, and the AI will take it into account. So if you outline your architecture and the rules for your architecture, they might become AI rules for your code generation, or they're just read by the AI, and it will take it into account, Document. Rule number 7 is to stay updated on AI security research. This is that giveaway, of course. There's a beautiful game that you can play. It's called Gandalf. It's made by Lakera. Great tool in the sense to teach you about the effective defenses against the manipulation of your AI interactions. You start out with this very young, small Gandalf, basically a toddler, and Gandalf hides a password, and you go to Gandalf and you say, give me the password. And the toddler will look up you and say, here you go. Next level, Gandalf will be older and it will be more difficult to get the password. Yeah, it goes all the way up to Gandalf the White at level 8, and it's quite interesting to try and get the password. It's very nice to try during the drinks. Maybe you can team up and figure out how to beat Gandalf. I've come to level 8. Happily say that I defeated Gandalf. How far can you go? Gandalf is not the only resource, of course. A more practical resource is the OWASP. You might know it from the coding development angle, where OWASP has the top 10 and most threads. They do the same for AI. They have a top 10 for LLM applications. They also have guides. These are two of my more favorite ones. One for AI data security, the best practices that you should follow. And agentic AI, the one with the model context protocol and how to defend against them, the mitigations. Follow these. If all else from this talk you get a bookmark for the OWASP Gen AI project, I'll be very happy. Keep up to date, and yeah, maybe you will not be Leo. So the key takeaways from my talk is that AI is not an issue as long as you are in control. I have 7 rules that you should follow. These are them. Always understand the limits and the risks. Review your generated code. Use the established standards that we have and follow them. Do not solely rely on AI for your tests. Keep your unit small, size does matter. Document what you intend your system to do and how it works. And finally, to stay updated on AI security research. You can use the OWASP. You can also follow me on the socials. Everywhere I go, I use the nickname CredMP. You can find me on LinkedIn, Mastodon, and Blue Sky. I work for Scion, and that was my talk. Are there any questions?